Cleveland Guardians have lost 4 games in a row for the second time all season. They were swept for the first time this season, and they're also out of sole possession of first place for the first time in 2026. But now is not the time to panic.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Guardians swept at home by the Yankees heading into an off day. Would have liked to go into an off day with a win, feeling a little bit better. And normally you might like a game the next day to try to wash the taste out of your mouth, but maybe an off day right now isn't the worst thing for Cleveland. There are no off days here on Locked On Guardians because we are your only podcast that covers your team, Cleveland Guardians, every single day from the majors, the minors, the draft, and everything in between. I think we'll hit all those key points in today's show. Jeff, we will talk a little draft and figure out how hard it's going to be to peg down the Guardians pick at 19 and how ridiculous this draft is and how ridiculous some of the mocks also are too. They are we can mock the mocks, as they'll say. We'll talk about playing the kids and living with the ups and downs of that. We'll talk about the Guardians trending in the wrong direction after an ugly Game 3 against the New York Yankees. Jeff Ellis over there on the other side of the screen, and Mike hosts the show for 8 years. I am Justin Lada. Been here with Jeff for 4 years, and we have both been covering this team in the minors and the draft for 19 years apiece. Hard to believe. I will say this was my least favorite game of the series. I mean, they were all not fun because they lost, and we had the debate earlier this week about the vibes of Monday and Tuesday's game, and they were close. And this one was close early. I mean, Angel Martinez gave the Guardians their second lead. Angel Martinez, by the way, the series accounted for all of the Guardians' leads. He gave them the lead in Game 1 with his homer. He gave them the lead in this game with his homer to lead off the game, and then they haven't held leads otherwise. So I guess Angel Martinez is the only guy in this team that can give this team the lead right now, which is probably not a good development for this offense. But yeah, this was not a fun game. The Guardians made more bad choices. They made errors. They didn't get the big hit when it mattered. I will say I thought that they had Carlos Rodon on the ropes at times.
Yeah, agreed.
They worked 3 walks.
They had all the starters on the ropes in this series, and then they couldn't take advantage of a pen that they beat up. And then
I know.
You know, the Yankees have an average pen. I mean, they have a good pen. Let me change it. That's wrong. They have a good pen, but like you got in the pen in all 3 games, and they could not beat up on them. And the other side is honestly Cleveland starters pooped the bed in this series. Like the starters were not good in this series, and you had your 2 best starters.
Slade Ciccone was fine.
Slade was good. Slade was good. But like your 2 big guys are Messick and Williams, and they both had arguably their worst starts of the year in this series. So it's like, the offense, and that's the thing. Like if Gavin has a typical Gavin performance, they easily win the first game. Yeah.
Same with Parker in this game because he allowed 4 runs and the Guardians scored 4 runs. Yeah. If this team scores 4 or 5 runs, normally they win, but that was because the bullpen this week has not been the best. And like you said, the starters were not the right. Yeah. And then, I would say Tuesday, they just didn't get enough hits to come through. And a week ago they were, ever since they left New York. Ever since that Thursday game, they have not really had a whole lot of quote-unquote clutch, which we talked a lot about on Wednesday's show. You can go back and listen to that outside of Saturday in Texas, which was a weird game of itself. But, yeah, you just hate to see you played – I guess I shouldn't say they played well, but they played competitively with the Yankees. Like, they had chances to win the first 2 games. I don't know if I would say they had a chance to win this game. They definitely certainly put themselves in position to attempt to win this game because, they were tough on Rodon. I really thought he was like 87 pitches in that 5th inning. I thought, well, he might not come back out. But then again, he did because I think Boone had really worn on his bullpen a little bit. So that's why he came back out, and it worked out great because he ended up getting 7 strikeouts. What really sucks for me, Jeff, is 2 things. A, the Yankees beat up on left-handed pitching they have this year. I've seen the numbers suggest they're good against lefties, and they showed that today against Messick. Messick was not, at his best for sure, including an error. And, you had this lineup in here. You had your your quote unquote lefty killer lineup, right? Martinez, even though the numbers don't bear out this year, we all thought this was a guy who was going to hit lefties. He has not this year. He only hit the home run. Can't blame Martinez for this game because he did have 2 hits at homer. But Ramirez, 1 hit, and he's been hitting righties better this year. Hoskins, Fry, all good against lefties. Didn't do anything. Fry had a walk. Hedgie had a good day. Fairchild had 2 walks. But your middle of your order, Jose, Hoskins, and Fry, and we'll throw Bazzana in there too, though he had a hit and a walk. I can't blame him too much either. But your 2, 3, 4 hitters are supposed to be your best hitters, and they gave you nothing against a rotation that was Carlos Rodon and then 2 lefties out of the bullpen. And they gave you nothing. Like, you just can't have that combined with a bad day from one of your steady starters. And you brought in I wouldn't even call them the B team lineup. I call them the C team bullpen. Festa, Hoyer, and Will Dion, the C team.
The stats you told me before says that Festa is easily a B team lineup guy based on what you told me before we went on the show.
I mean, Festa's fine for who he is. Like, he's in an 8-man bullpen. Ideally, he's your, like you said, 8th guy, maybe your 7th. Yeah. I think he's the 6th right now because he's probably better than Hoyer and Dion. So right now he's your 6th guy out of 8. Ideally, he's probably your 7 or 8. So,
yeah, it's so the whole idea of the lefty killer lineup. It feels at points like it's what we talked about a year ago. Like, I haven't really looked at all the numbers. Fry's been okay this year. I feel like
it's been
Martinez hasn't actually killed lefties. It's funny because like Chase DeLauter, and again, Chase needs days off, so I'm not going to argue like that he was out of the lineup today. But like Cal Manzardo is hit lefties really well this year, and he's not playing. So I'm just kind of in this situation where I hate, like, I know Hoskins is here to beat lefties, but you go back to August 4th. Like I keep talking about this. You go back, the 50 games of the season, essentially. Get rid of the first 12, the last 50 games. The best hitter on this team over the last 50 games is Kyle Manzardo, and we're taking him out of the lineup. And that's still, like, I'd rather have him out there than Hoskins. And here's the other thing. Like, I know Jose hits lefties well, but like, I think he needs to rest more. Like, not only is he 33, not only is he a small guy, not only is he not like the most built guy, like, he's a baseball savant. That's what he is. That's why he's so good at it. It's not that. I mean, he is a well-built dude. He gets everything into his swing, but like, he's still a 33-year-old man. Like, rest, especially when this team doesn't have off days. Like, they've played so many games in a row. Like, if it comes down to like, hey, we're gonna do, like, tell Jose. I know they never tell Jose to do anything. It's always what Jose, but I think Jose needs a little more days off. I think he needs days off. I think, especially in the stretch like they have played where they have had like 2 days off. He's an older baseball player. 33 is older for baseball. It makes me cry to say that as someone who's in my 40s, but for baseball, that's older. And I think he needs to have some rest. But more importantly, like, I know they signed Hoskins, give him right-handed bat. Until Manzardo like finds his level and he's not the best hitter on this team, he needs to be out there every day. Full stop for me. The occasional off day against a tough lefty, having some days where he doesn't play, that's fine. But both games in the series, Monday they took him out after 2 plate appearances where he reached base both times. The one error should have been a single and he walked. And then yesterday he reached base 3 more times. Reach base. This team is struggling to get on base. You have a guy who's reached base like 5 out of 7 opportunities. So of course he doesn't play. That's where it annoys me. That's where I have my issue. And yeah, I mean, I don't have issues with platoons. I really don't. If you got a Geyer, you got a Rayburn, but you got to let someone who's been your best hitter and your most consistent player getting on base when you're struggling to get on base, got to have that guy play.
Yeah, we talked about a lot of times play the hot hand, and Manzardo is seemingly the only hot hand of this lineup right now. I mean, Martinez comes and goes. He had the big hit Monday. He had a big hit
I'm going to keep
today.
saying he's terrible because every time I say he's terrible, he finally has a few good hits. So until further notice, Martinez is just constantly every time he's terrible because every time I say he's terrible. And I mean, I'm going to Jose is terrible. Let's just say that because he had that great weekend when I was negative. So I got to be negative on those 2 to try to make the rebound. But no,
who else did we target? We tried Chase DeLauter, didn't work.
It didn't work.
We tried it with him.
Yeah, but like I think in general, it's like I think a few more rest days for Jose, especially with the brutal schedule. It's been a brutal schedule, and then just Manzardo needs to play every day. Like Hoskins is too all or nothing. He either walks or he hits an extra base hit, or he has a day like today
which
where
is
he
what
does
he's here
nothing.
to do.
Which
to be fair,
is
that's what
great.
he's here to do.
And like days where you have the DH, he should DH. But on days where you're gonna have Jose DH, it should be Manzardo playing and Hoskins has to sit, even if you're facing a lefty.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you until Manzardo proves otherwise. I don't disagree with you on that. And great points with Jose. You're right. I think you're right. I think it would be super smart, especially if you have, aspirations of making a run in October. You want to have Jose. We've often, how many times have we gotten to the end of the year and Jose slows down because, he's tired from playing 155 games. Like, we're at age 33, and I really don't want to see the Grady Sizemore route. And they have an off day Thursday. That's great, but maybe you pair that with an off day on Wednesday, especially considering it was 90 degrees in Cleveland. It was not a comfortable day in Cleveland. I know he DH, but like, leave him on the bench for a pinch hitting opportunity or something. Stacking 2 days off in a row. They've done that with DeLauter. DeLauter is off today, and he'll be off on Thursday. They've done that with him, stacking days off in a row. Yeah, it wouldn't hurt to do that with Jose. And I don't know. I saw the lineup come out on Wednesday, and I kind of thought it looked like
you texted me right away.
I was like, this is a game they're going to either hit nothing or everything, and I guess it was in between. It didn't be either, but because sometimes we see those lineups, and it's like, oh god, this lineup looks terrible, and they score like 7 runs and they win. But this was a game where they did okay offensively. Like, they scored 4 runs. That's not bad, and then they didn't get no hits. So I don't know. I guess that theory didn't hold up in this one. All right, we're going to talk next about the Guardians and their reliance on young players. But also want to make a point that things are looking ugly over the last week or so, maybe a little bit longer than that, but I'm not panicking. I guess you can panic if you want, but I'm not, and I'll tell you why. Things are chaotic with the Guardians right now, and workplace chaos can show up very fast as we see deadlines stack up, projects need attention, and you're trying to fill an important role. The problem is that finding the right candidate can take a lot more time than most businesses can afford. That is where Indeed Sponsored Jobs comes in and helps you reach the candidates who actually fit what you're looking for based on skills, experience, and location. So you spend less time sorting through applications and more time talking to qualified people who help your business succeed. Finding the right person makes all the difference, whether it's building a business or building a winning team, organizations that consistently succeed. Now, how important is to identify the right talent to put them in position to thrive. Locked On found me, and they could have actually talked to Jeff before to recommend a co-host, but they found me, put us together. Jeff and I knew each other for 10 years. That's why the chemistry works. You want to spend less time searching, more time interviewing candidates that actually check all your boxes. Less time, less stress, more results. Cut through the chaos with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Listeners of the show get a $75 sponsored job credit to help your job get the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on Locked On Guardians. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
Let's talk about our friends over at Hims. ED is way more common than most guys think. Millions of guys deal with it at some point, and that's exactly why Hims offers a straightforward way to handle it. Hims connects you with licensed healthcare providers online, giving you access to legitimate ED treatment options from the comfort of your home. No awkward appointments, no pharmacy line, just a straightforward process that makes it easier to take care of yourself. Right now, the entire Guardians offense could use Hims because right now, it's like a game of T-ball with the Guardians. They're all using the yellow bats. At least that's what it looks like. And you don't want those thin, weak yellow bats. You want the big, strong, thick red one, right? You want to go out there and hit with the big, thick red, not the weenie yellow bat. This team right now looks like they're hitting with that weenie yellow bat, not the big, thick one. If you need help like that, to get simple online access to personalized, affordable care for ED, hair loss, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/lockedonmlb. That's hims.com/lockedonmlb for your free online visit. hims.com/lockedonmlb. Prescription is required. See website for details and important safety information. Sildenafil is a generic version of Viagra. Viagra is a registered trademark of Vitreous Specialty LLC. Hims is not affiliated with or endorsed by Vitreous.
Appreciate everybody for making Locked On Guardians your first listen today, every day, wherever it is that you get podcasts. If you are here every day, you know the drill. If you haven't joined the Everydayer Club, though, great time to check it out because you can get a 7-day free trial anytime. And that gets you access to the ad-free version of the audio episodes, and it also gets you access to the private listener Discord that's got all of the listeners of the show in there, Jeff, myself, other Guardians fans, and also a channel for every single show that Locked On has, along with all the fans for the other teams. You can go and check out the Locked On White Sox Discord channel if you want and see if they're celebrating being in first place. And be part of that. So check that out now at lockedonguardians.supercast.com or check the link in your show notes. So yes, Jeff, the Guardians are no longer in first place. I believe they're out by half a game. Half a game? Okay. It's half a game. And what was their, let's see, their lead was as big as
like
4.5.
Okay.
Their largest lead was 4.5, and that was after the Philadelphia win on Sunday when they won 3-1. So that was about 2 weeks ago. They were 4.5. They've lost 4.5 games in that time, or 5, I guess you could say, because they're down by half game. Definitely not great. That's quite a drop. Things have been rough since they came home from that. They got throttled by the Nationals. Didn't do good against Boston. They went to New York, looked good, but then they went to Texas and looked worse, and then came home to New York, and that was the first time they've been swept this year, and it's the second time this year they've lost 4 in a row. So they have limited their losing streaks, which is good. Parker Messick and Gavin Williams have been kind of the big guys in terms of stopping losing streaks, and neither of them could do that in the series. I would say these are things that happen over the course of the season. It's June 11th. I think we got to remember, I was saying the other day on Twitter, some people got surprised and mad at me. And I said, well, someone said the White Sox are really fun right now. I said, yeah, they are. The White Sox are fun. They've had some rookies come up and play really well. They didn't have any expectations coming into the year other than to get the kids up at some point, get their feet wet and see what happens. And that is where the honeymoon phase is. There were no expectations other than bring up as many prospects as you can, find room for them, and hope they develop and get them some experience. That's the fun part, is when those guys come up and they play well. And to an extent, I would say Cleveland has also been through that this year. Now, I definitely think there are more expectations on Cleveland. So that's a little bit different. But DeLauter, great first week. And then, like you said, Jeff, he has been below at league average ever since that first week, basically. Travis Bazzana also.
Well below.
Yeah, Travis Bazzana, ironically, I would say Travis Bazzana didn't have a hot start. He was over his first 12. Some of that was bad luck, but he was walking. And then he was great. He was their best hitter. He transformed the team for a little bit. And then now he is also going through struggles. And Parker Messick, he was their best pitcher in the month of April, I would say, without a doubt. And, he's had a couple starts where he's had bumps in the road. And he's a guy that really hasn't hit any sort of rookie issues until recently, too. And we have to remember he's still a rookie, too, even though he hasn't always looked like it. I just don't think I'm not going to sit here and say the sky is falling because they're out of first place on June 11th. This is the same team that came back from 15.5 down a year ago. And maybe that's a once in a million year thing that happens, and probably is. It took the Tigers to collapse for the Guardians to come back. And I think the Guardians were I'm going to say 18-4 in their final 22 games, remember right, which is ridiculous. It was ridiculous. So was it a bit of a fluky thing? Sure. Weird things had to happen. But this is also a team that lost 10 games in a row last year. They lost Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz to betting scandals, and they found a way to overcome that and come back and play good. They put 18-4 is ridiculous. I don't care how bad the Tigers work. You go 18-4, that is a crazy stretch. Even if a little luck is on your side, it's still a crazy good stretch. You got to put yourself in position to win games. And they did that. And I still think this team is better than it was a year ago. Some guys have not been up to par this year. Jose has not been Jose. Tanner's had some blow-ups. Gavin has had some ups and downs. Slade Coney started the year off junky. He's been better lately. And Cantillo's hit the skids.
And Kwan has been probably the biggest.
Yeah, Kwan has been non. Correct. Yes. So I still think overall, I think big picture, the team is still better on paper than it was a year ago. I'm just not going to sit here and say the sky is falling. I think over the course of the season, you see these ebbs and flows. And the biggest thing to me is you're expecting Bazzana and DeLauter to play every day and be a big part of this lineup. But the problem is you're relying on them heavily while you were hoping Jose would still be Jose. And we were thinking Kwan would at least be league average. That hasn't happened. So I think that magnifies things a little bit for this team too. And I don't know what's going to happen over the balance of the year with Jose and Kwan. Like, I still believe Jose will be back to being Jose, and maybe that doesn't mean MVP Jose, but I still like that means he's going to be a very good player and still going to be the best player on this team. Kwan, I have less hope for, and I still have hope for DeLauter and Bazzana because I like their approaches at the plate. There are certainly things they need to address, but this is what happens in baseball. Rookies come up, they play well, teams adjust, they have to adjust back. It's a long season. They both have had issues where they haven't played a lot of games in a row over the last couple of years, at least Bazzana just last year. This is what happens. And the Guardians said they didn't want to block their prospects this year. They didn't do that. And this is what we're seeing right now is some of the ebbs and flows of that. And it's just unfortunate that they don't have, 2022 Jose or whatever it is and 2024 Kwan to balance things out. It's just, that's the unfortunate part of it. But I think for the most part, Bazzana, DeLauter, and Jose will rebound. The rest of the guys, are who they are, I guess, too. I just don't think it's time to panic.
Why don't we hit the break and then I'll come back and give my opinion on it.
All right. Yeah. So we'll see if Jeff is hitting the panic button. If not, we'll talk more about the consequences of playing the young players. And we'll also get to a little bit of draft talk here as well. If Cash App could give me a discount at one place, it'd probably be my favorite pizza place next door. Already very dangerous that it's right next door to me, and I would go even more than I already do. So getting a little money back every time would add up pretty quickly, and I would enjoy very good pizza all the time. Cash App also adds security to your money, so it declines suspicious card transactions, sends you notifications to make sure the payment is really you. If your card is ever lost or stolen, you're able to lock it with just one tap right in the app. And trust me, fraud is on the rise these days. Cards can act funny. Accounts can get hacked very easily. So you want that extra security piece to whatever cards you're using to buy things. The new Cash App customers can earn $10 if they use code CashApp10 in their profile right at sign up and send $5 to a friend in 14 days. Terms apply. You know the drill. Hit the bell on YouTube. Get notified of all of our latest videos, whether it's a reaction video to the games, any kind of news the Guardians have, regular episodes, bonus episodes, and auto download on your favorite audio platforms. So you also keep the show in your feed every single day. All right, Jeff, so we're talking about playing the young players, and I would say the Guardians didn't want to block their prospects, and this is to early in the year looked really good. And this is the other side of it. They're struggling, they have to adjust back. I think that's part of the things you accept with playing young players. And I think you have to stand by that at this point, especially with guys like DeLauter and Bazzana.
I disagree. Because here's the thing, young players are young players. There's got to be, you have to get consistent play. Guys go up and down. We always say development isn't linear. So if it's not working, definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing and expect different outcomes. Cleveland on the entire year, their outfield WRC plus is an 89, which is interesting because if you go back and skip out those first 12 games where Chase DeLauter was a different player, his WRC plus on the year is an 89. He has been first 12 games is worth half a win. Since then, he's been worth 1/10 over 50. He really has not performed since then. I think he has a bright future. I think it's going to take time. I think it's a combination of, he just hasn't played that many games. But I also think we're seeing the results of a guy who's been hurt all the time and has never had to make the adjustment, right? The league has never had the time to adjust to him, and he's never had the ability to adjust back. And I think with his ISO is below 100, his isolated power, like his power number isn't looking great, and his overall performance. I think at some point, and then his defensive metrics are poor, so he's not helping you out in that way either. So I think at some point, if this continues, if he kind of stays on this declining path for another week or two, I do think you send him to AAA and trying to work on adjustments and work on those things. And I don't think it's eventually guys do have to make those adjustments at the major league level, but because he has played the equivalent of like one season in the minors with all the games he's played, I think at some point you do have to consider that DeLauter might need to make some adjustments, get a few more reps and get looks there. And, you can run out I've been talking for a while. It's like Cooper Ingles' numbers are unbelievable. There's a lot of things I just don't think are sustainable, like unbelievable, both good and in the way that they won't translate directly. But he's played outfield in the past. He was a catcher. He has a good enough arm. Like I said, the metrics are not great on DeLauter and Wright. So if you go to Ingle, I don't think he could really. He might be similarly in terms of metrics. It's like having him play and get experience in the outfield is good because if it doesn't work there, like trying him, like he is a highly rated prospect. I don't think it's going to translate as well as he's hit, but at the same time, like he has been really healthy throughout his minor league career. I think this year was the first time he's really missed a bunch of games. I guess he had some last year as well, I think. But either way, it's like he's had to deal with
check last year.
Yeah, it was that's what it was. It's like he's dealt with the league adjusting to him and him adjusting back, and he's been great about making adjustments. And I'm willing to see what Ningle can do. I do think Khalil Watson's going to get absolutely eaten alive, but if Stephen Kwan's really bad, like, I mean, I think Watson can handle center field. I'm not as concerned. It's like if Kwan really is going to be like a 70 WRC guy plus the rest of the way, it's like there's a chance that Watson could overdo that. Now the problem is you can't, unless you're somehow getting rid of Kwan for basically nothing at the deadline. You'd have to that's about the only way to open up that center field position for someone else. Or it's you're shifting him to left more, and Angel isn't playing as much, and you're letting Watson play more of a center field role. And maybe that's the choice. Maybe it's Watson in center, and you hope that Stephen Kwan can play better in left with because that's the position he knows. And I haven't looked at the numbers to see if he's particularly better one or the other. I don't think he would be because he's just been so bad in general. But it's like I think at some point you do have to consider some adjustments. You do have to consider some of those young guys. And I do think in particular with DeLauter, the idea of development isn't linear. He is barely not even 2 seasons of minor league baseball. There's not enough games for that. And we've talked about how, a lot of the guys like Christian Campbell, right, with Boston, like he went through multiple levels in a year and he never had to face adjustments. And then those are the guys that teams kind of bust on. So it's like the fact that, and I don't think DeLauter is a bust. I think he's going to be a very important part of this team moving forward. I think he's going to be a very good hitter, but if he continues to struggle, I think, you consider getting Ingle up and sending him down because you want those guys to play every day. And you have Chase work on some things at AAA because of the missed time. I think he has all the tools to be a great hitter. I just don't think he is a great hitter yet. But I think he can get there, and I don't want to be too locked into any one guy. Same thing with Bazzana. Since his defense is also poor, it's like if he stays in like half a year, the one thing with Bazzana, though, it's with DeLauter, it's very clear. You get rid of those first 12 games. Since then, he's been 11% below league average. Bazzana, it's been a little up and down. He's having moments here or there, but I'm not married to him either. Like if at some point you decide, we know Gabby's going to be back. If you decide that you want to go with defense because of how much that matters to your pitching staff, I understand it. Now,
they already can't score runs right now, though.
I mean, but I'm just saying, like, if we see more of Bazzana going with these over 20 stretches, then I don't think you can be married or stuck to anything when you're this team, and especially because it's baseball and development is a thing that takes a while. And guys go up and down. Stephen Kwan is the only guy on this team who did not have an up and down time between the majors and the minors. And most great hitters have had that. Like, that's just a natural part of the game. So I'm not going to sit here. Normally we agree on everything, but I'm going to disagree with you on this one. I think that it's okay to go down the minors. It's okay to see what some other guys can do. Even Valera has rebounded nicely. I really have to dive into his numbers. He was horrendous when he got sent down, and he was really bad when he was up. But, you can see what you have with a few of these guys, I think, especially if players are in prolonged slumps.
Yeah, I mean, he makes some good points. I don't disagree with everything there. Like, guys do go up and down. But I think that the big thing here about this offseason about not going after an outfielder who wasn't going to play a platoon outfielder and not going after a second baseman had a lot to do with keeping spots open for DeLauter and Bazzana. Those were intentional plans you made this offseason to not block them from being up at the major league level. And they're here now. And I think you are married to them. I think these are like, I'm not saying guys can't go down and have to go down, but you're also in a different situation because you're trying to win the division. I don't like the idea.
That's also why they went and got Bailey and didn't really run with Ingle, right? Like they can make an adjustment on the fly.
Yes, but you're not going to acquire an outfielder right now either. That was a rare situation that.
No, I know, but
like,
they also had they were going to go with the young players, and I mean, they gave Valera a chance at the start and a few other young guys seeing what could work. So if it's now, I think I think very clearly that DeLauter was going to make this team out of camp, and the Bazzana was going to get an early opportunity. Though if Gabby doesn't get hurt, who knows? Like, but Bazzana may not be debuting, until now. Like, it would have been interesting to see, especially because Arias was hitting before he got hurt, so it wouldn't have been as quickly. But I think. Some of the reason with those young players is so you can see a Watson this year because you added him to the 40-man. So you can see an Engel this year because you're going to have to add him. I don't think it was necessarily just about them. That's what I'm saying. You've already added him, so
right.
You want to see.
I just don't like the idea of playing musical chairs with rookies because it's like you can't give the impression. Like, you can say words all you want, but the actions are what matter. You can't sit down and say, all right, well, every time this rookie, if you come up and you have, because you're the proponent of this yourself, you say guys who come up, they perform well right away, or they have a great first year and they decline after that. They have that rookie peak and they're usually not as good. You can't give the message to the two most important hitters in your rookie class, the top prospects. Okay, well, you came up, you played 50 games, whatever, 60, 70
You got to
games.
show up or shut up. Bottom line, you got to show up or shut up. And right now, they're not showing up. If they're not showing up, it doesn't matter.
But that's not a work ethic thing or anything like that. It is a results-based game. But you can't hurt their confidence either in saying, okay, well, you had a great,
can't deal with being sent down in baseball, then you're never going to be successful. Like, that's part of the game. That's going to shatter you. You're done already.
Can I finish? I finish?
Nope.
I'm not saying they can't deal with it. I'm saying you can't also give the impression, rookies, that, okay, well, you had a good 50 to 60, 70 game sample, then you started to struggle. All right, you're going down. Now we're going to bring up Cooper Engel and Khalil Watson, and they're going to play 60
But it wasn't 50,
games.
It was 12.
You're killing me here, bud. You're killing me. You're killing me. You can't bring these guys up and say, okay, whatever, you hit well for 3 weeks because the league didn't figure you out yet, and then you struggled for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then we're going to send you back down, and then we're going to play musical chairs and bring this guy. I don't like that idea. I think it's not good for anybody. You can't tell. You can say a prospect goes down to work on stuff. That's fine. But I think, like I said, the musical chairs of it all. You're sending, okay, DeLauter, you go back down. We're going to call up Khalil Watson. And then he has this great month where the league doesn't know what he's, how to pitch to him. And he's on fire. And then he has a month where, okay, well, he stinks now because the league figured him out. Let's call Chase back up. Oh, Chase, that didn't work out again. Let's send you back down. Let's call up Cooper Engel now. You see what I'm saying? It's a slippery slope there where you're just trying guys in and out. You're not finding a permanent solution. Development has to happen at the major league level. These guys do have to adjust to major league level. Those two guys are the most important rookies out of all the guys, out of Watson, Engel. Those guys carry way more importance. And I agree, there's an argument there to say, to go back down and adjust because they are important. You don't want to burn them out. Like, at some point, if they were like Brito was miserably bad. I'd have to look at like weeks of stretches to see where they compare. But like you were saying, DeLauter is like an 89.
89. He's 11% below league average.
All right. Okay, Brito was in the negatives. Like, he was a negative WRC plus. There's a huge difference there. I just think these guys got to develop at major league level. Yeah. So I just don't like the idea of like running. Like, I playing the hot hand is fine, but if Engel comes up and hits great for like 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden the league figures him out, okay, you're going back down now. You were good for 3 weeks, and I just don't like.
For me, it's not
that game.
3 weeks would be great because, again, Chase DeLauter had a week and a half. It was 12 games. It was not even a full 2 weeks of games. He had 2 weeks, and since then he has been 11% below league average while playing bad defense. Like, I believe it's not. I believe in him as a hitter going forward. This isn't me saying dump him, but it's also he has just not had the reps. Like, he has not had that chance to adjust. I think there's things to work on and to work through. And you consider it. I'm not saying do it now. I'm saying if this continues to the end of the month, then you have given a guy, 2.5 months. And if he's been a below average bat, then you can try someone else while he works on other traits. We've seen this happen with Rocchio, who's having a great year. Like, they did the exact same thing about this time with Rocchio. And he went down, had that half the year down there and worked on traits, right? Wasn't it around this time a year ago where Rocchio was sent down? It's like, I'm not saying it's like this guy here or there. I'm saying you give a guy about a 3-month run. If they're struggling, You send him down, and especially in a case.
So you're going to send
with
DeLauter and Bazzana back down for 3 months, and then have them come back in September?
Potentially, it depends on how things play out. It depends on trade deadline. I'm not saying both. I'm just saying you have to look at where they are and how they're performing. You can't be married.
There's nobody in the minors that's going to be that's going to be better than either of them. There's not.
I mean,
I just don't believe that.
You don't think anyone can be better than 11% below league average and basically
Watson?
He's
Engel, maybe not Watson. No,
Chase DeLauter has been a replacement player since the hot 2 weeks. He's been the definition of a AAA replacement player by his production standards.
I think Watson defense. I think Watson would be worse. I think Engel.
And again, I know people are gonna get so mad at me, and I think DeLauter can be great. I think it's really hard for a guy who has not played that many games to play this many games, to play at a level that is a lot more wear and tear. There's a lot more going on. I think there are things for him specifically that could be good to work towards. I'm not saying necessarily go get Watson now. Engel's more the guy I'm kind of intrigued by, and like I said, and Watson's more of like how long do we? It's more the center field Kwan situation. That's less about, because he's the only guy who I think could potentially play center field. And at some point, this team, like I said, they're 89 in WRC plus. That is 24th in baseball. It's been really bad in that outfield, and it's gotten much worse. Like if I did the arbitrary end dates and kind of said, since if you remove the hot stretch with Chase, instead of an 89, they are now a 88. So I guess that wasn't actually that big of a move. But yeah, I think I don't know what you do with Kwan. I have no idea what you do there. That is just a mess, and there's no easy answer.
They are.
I
told somebody that in the Discord today. They're married to Kwan to the end of the year. He could be a non-tender can at the end of the year. Yeah, he's going. But there's no getting rid of him this year. You can try to reduce his playing time. That's about it.
I mean, in an ideal world, honestly, it's like the Cubs fall apart and you trade for someone like Ian Happ at the deadline, and then you put him in one of your outfield spots, and then you're okay running with someone else. But right now, with some of their struggles, you need, we saw it when they caught up Bazzana. It was a nice little kick in the butt and get things moving. And if they continue to scuffle, they got to find ways to capture some more energy, to do some things, and that's, to me. Yeah, you just can't be married to any one player. You just got to see how it's going to go. Unless it's someone like Jose, someone with the proven track record, you got to kind of see and can keep your options open.
I don't know. This whole offseason was about keeping spots open for DeLauter and Bazzana, and they're here. And that was an intentional choice. I think you stick with them. And the other thing too is I'd be fine like with a Burrito or something else like that. Like I said, it's not the same because it's different level prospects, but they got to develop the major league level, and I just don't like the idea of I don't think moving guys in and out as rookies just to hope you get the 2 week hot stretch for rookie bump is a strategy. It's just a hope and a prayer. That's what it is.
I just think it's for both those guys who have missed significant time, there's things they have not worked on in the minors, and it's affected like we talked about, almost everyone. Development isn't linear. Like, it's okay to try different guys if it's not. I guess for me, it's okay to try different guys if it's not working. So we're going to be just.
I know, but you're just
opposed.
You're just hoping that like Engel for 2 weeks is hot, and then.
Or I mean, I got him top 5 in the system. I think he could be a good player. Maybe there's a chance.
I still think that's a strategy, though. That's just not a. I don't think that's a good strategy for development for either side.
I think in that case, you get the player who's had the most reps. You get the guy who's constantly produced. You give him that opportunity, because it's not like he's a bad prospect. Like, he's a top 5 guy in both of our systems. It's not like I'm saying go get, Valera, who's struggled, or go get Kafis, who's not. But, if you got another high-end prospect, maybe he's not their level of high, but still a good prospect, you got to consider it. That's all I'm saying.
Well, we can continue to debate this tomorrow because there are things we didn't get into today that we wanted to get into, plus the draft. So there's still a lot of things for us to talk about with this team, even on an off day. So if you're not watching Guardians baseball on Thursday, hopefully you're still watching Locked on Guardians to find different ways to explore what's going to happen with this team the rest of the year.
Yep. Again, don't hate me. I believe in him going forward. I'm just talking about now. Thank you all for joining me and joining us, and go Guardians. Go.
Jeff's kicking me out. It's fine. He's kicking me out.
He's done with me. I can't do this show alone. I cannot do this show alone. I cannot.